Hello, welcome back. This is Jacob, and today we are gonna be beginning the narration and character voicing for An Obscure Wanderer side story in Arknights. The Mlynar side story is here, and yes, it is taking place after the events of the Nearl Light story. Now, for anybody that might be wondering if I haven't read the Nearl Light story, does it matter if I keep reading this? You're free to do so. This side story will feature mostly Mlynar on a journey that he undertakes after the events of the Nearl Light side story concludes, and we will see where it ends. I haven't read the full story yet. I'm obviously only up to speed on the first three parts that we will be including with today's narration, so I have no idea where it's gonna end, outside of the fact that it's probably gonna end on him joining Rhode Island, because I've read his file. I've read the beginning of his file. That's pretty much what it says, so well, he spoils it himself, I guess. But anyway, outside of that, we'll be joining Mlynar on his journey that he undertakes, like I said, over a period of a couple of weeks and months after the events of Nearl Light. If you haven't read Nearl Light and do fear of any kind of spoilers, you're obviously free to not keep on listening to this, but if you don't mind anything, the stories usually in this game don't really fully spoil the previous part, and from the first three parts that I read today, they don't really go into detail of how the plot was revolving in Nearl Light. But if you do at the end of the story gonna feel a bit confused about certain events and relationships with characters and who they are and where they're from, obviously a lot of faces that we're gonna see today are characters that were not just introduced originally in the first part, which is Maria and Nearl, but also later more fleshed out, and new characters were also introduced in Nearl Light that will appear in today's story. So yeah, if you feel a bit lost with certain characters, I will not be filling in the blanks all too much with this narration while going through it, because Nearl Light will have a rerun, and I just recently did a Maria Nearl narration, literally, like, ended it on the day that this came out. So if you're new to this whole Nearl storyline, link to the Maria Nearl and the Pinus Sylvestris, in that order, by the way, storylines will be in the description of this video, so feel free to go if you want to go in order of events. Outside of that, Nearl Light will, like I said, have a rerun very soon, so expect a narration on the channel to appear once that goes live, obviously. And then we will have the entire picture, so if you're gonna be feeling lost, look no further than this channel in the future. Outside of that, I think it's time we begin. Time to see what was Uncle up in those 3 months he was away. So, like I said, in today's episode, first part, we will be going over the first three stories, which are, or rather first three scenes, which are all titled with Hermit Abode, Only the Stars, and I Have Gazed. The next four will be pretty much their own parts. So the next two will be one part, the last two will be their own part, and then we're gonna be done. So, oh, and as a final thing, there's gonna be a lot of Polish names, let's put it that way, in or at least Polish sounding names. I don't know if all the names that they're gonna be using are actually authentic Polish names. I'm not Polish myself, I am Croatian, which also brings me down to the fact that I have heard now finally the English, considering he's now in the game, the English voice for Mlynar, and I love the Polish accent the guy is putting up. Pretty good. I wonder how it sounds for people who actually speak Polish. Outside of that, I wanted to just say, even though I speak a couple of languages, I cannot pull off accents, regardless of how much I want to try that, so do not expect me to give Mlynar a Polish accent, which is weird, because just like Polish, Croatian is, well, it's a Slavic language. I should be able to pull off a accent. I cannot. I don't even have a Croatian accent, which is weird to think about. But yeah, I'm pointing this out. If you ever want to hear how someone who is a native Croatian person sounds when they actually speak English with an accent, go and look that up on YouTube. You'll probably be able to find it very quick. I do not sound like that. I have been pointed out by many Croatian people that my English does not sound like any other Croatian guy speaking English, which is, I guess, a compliment. But anyway, that's beside the point. So please don't expect any accents on anything. Doing the voices is already a lot, and there's gonna be a lot of them. But anyway, outside of all of that, let us begin with Hermit Abode. Right. Far in the past, before the story of a knight's breaking of the tides was written into a novel, the deafening sounds of cannon fire and reverberating bowstrings could often be heard in the breeze blowing through the forests. In those days, the masses firmly believed they were trapped in darkness. They cast the weight of life and death upon the earth, spilling blood as the price of both survival and remonstrance. Now, as the late autumn sun beams gently down on the open plains, a farmer strikes his hammer rhythmically to repair his roof before the oncoming rainstorm. In a graveyard at the foot of the mountain, a small group of men swing their iron tools, shoveling away dirt by the scoopful. As a chorus of sobs rings out in the background, they bury their withered crops into the earth. November 27th, 3:20 p.m. Countryside, Southern Casimir's. So, you're wandering the land all by yourself now, sir? No servants, no followers, not even a sword or armor. Thought it doesn't seem there's anybody looking to make an enemy of you. I still remember how a lot of folks back in the day said you were antagonizing the most prestigious families in the country, and that you'd find yourself in trouble sooner or later. Didn't those very same people accept emergency supplies that could get themselves in trouble? I've long since left the arena where those with influence scheme against one another. No longer am I worthy of their precious attention. Right. I suppose you wouldn't be surprised. Just like when I fled to those foreign lands and all those years ago, I thought the king would be after me with his arts forever. But as you can see, this old schoolteacher has lived peacefully for some 20-odd years in a small hut that can't be so much as withstand the rain. You say you're from Lithuanian. The Witch King's spire is long fallen. Why stay? I've been in hiding for too long. I no longer have any desire to go back. It took a long time for the news to reach this remote village, but then I'd already found myself accustomed to tending to the farms and only having to worry about keeping myself fed. Besides, I cut off my antlers to disguise myself. I've gotten used to living like a Kuranta. Say my family is still alive in Lithuanian, would they even recognize me? But you consider yourself a Lithuanian nonetheless. I'm just a poor fellow who can't put his old life behind him, sir. The zealot in me passed away long ago, and a man who's lived in hiding for so long doesn't much care about who he really is. I suppose you're here to revisit the place. I have little to give, but if you'd accept a hot cup of tea, it would be my pleasure. No need. Very well, sir. It's only that I remember your kindness all those years ago. Old as I may be now. When everyone else was exchanging pleasantries in the Casimirian dialect, you saw through my ruse. Yet instead of exposing me, you allowed me to remain in the caravan of refugees. Seems you don't remember. You don't remember a thing I said, but you weren't the least bit surprised when I recognized you. You must have rescued so many others like me. It was long ago. Are you writing a notice? You mean this here? Yes, this is a safety notice. A knight came to our village just yesterday. Supposedly a group of bandits have moved into the area. There's even been attacks in Zvonik. But anyone with half a brain knows that even if there were bandits, no one would go out of their way to protect a small village like ours, so far from the nomadic city's paths. Which is why the campaign knight's solemn reminder left me very frightened. Sir, even if no one wants to do you harm right this moment, I suggest bringing a weapon with you. That's what the campaign knights told you. So you haven't heard? Come to think of it, though it is strange, these past few years the knights have started to worry about the lives and deaths of us commoners. Take the few families that moved into the village 2 years ago. The knights rescued them when a catastrophe struck the next town over. That's not what I find strange. It's what he should have done in the first place. Changing venues. And here, like I said, is a character that gets introduced in Nearl Light. Well, you certainly gave us a fright. And I hope I'm pronouncing this name right, because, again, I don't speak Polish, but the way I understand how this lettering works in Polish, it should be read as Cicibor. If anyone speaks Polish, you can teach me in the comment section how I fared with pronunciations today. Anyway. Well, you certainly gave us a fright, Cicibor. If you hadn't taken your helmet off in time, the villagers might have just drawn their bows on you. If heaven forbid, an esteemed campaign knight such as yourself were to get hurt. My rap sheet may be long enough as it is, but the bounty on my head still has room to grow. Villagers? Good thing you remember my face. At least most of you do. There aren't many of you old pals among the living. Plenty of new blood, though. Now, there's no need for a long face for the likes of us. So how can I help? For you to come to such a small backwater village on patrol, I suppose it can't be because you're bored at work. After all, I hear this area has been very peaceful of late. And the campaign knights have been busy maintaining order outside the cities. I even heard that a couple of our folks are being investigated by you. That's exactly why I came, Toland. If you're the leader of the bounty hunters here, that makes this simpler. I'm sure you know, but I have rules to follow first. Ah, so you're not only following the rules? That's rare. Should we have a more private chat then? The last time we met, old Mlynar went to see you. Too bad. We were in a hurry to evacuate, and you were in a hurry to follow your rules and head back for the briefing. He ended up dying on his sickbed 2 years ago. Take a look down there. Can you see the industrial district on the other side of the river valley? You couldn't have picked a better spot for your stronghold. Oh, looks like a big corporation. What about it? That used to be the Palaniskos estate. Feeling nostalgic? A little. But I digress. I don't know how hostile you hunters are toward me, but I'd prefer not to make things too difficult for you. No need to worry. Most of the folks here aren't our old buddies, but at the very least they aren't so rash that they'd attack a fully armored campaign knight, Captain. No, that's not what I'm worried about. Wait, did I ever tell you about my promotion? Why so surprised? I'll give you that you campaign knights can be awfully cloak and dagger with your info, but you've been their leader for years now. Can we really be called hunters if we can't get our hands on even that much intel? Say, for example, about the black lance who pierces the starry sky, and the knight who charges towards catastrophes. These fucking references, I love them. Also, just to be on the clear, so that I'm not thinking of the wrong person here, if anybody knows, the knight who charges towards catastrophes, is that referring to our dear, as I like to call him at least, our dear Don Quixote friend from shit, why is the name escaping me now? Stultifera Navis, our dear little The Last Knight. Is that referring to him? Because I don't think the black lance who pierces the starry sky is him, or is that him? One of the two is actually him. I'm not sure about the other reference then. If anybody knows what the other reference is, and which one is which actually as well. Because one of the two is definitely referring to The Last Knight. Anyway. Fine, fine. There's nothing I can do about your intel. Besides, it's hardly honorable to hunt down whoever betrayed us. You already know my combat prowess is nothing to write home about, and the few achievements I have to my name are barely worth mentioning. Set as Silver Lance Pegasus, my combat prowess is nothing to write home about. Set as Silver Lance Pegasus, Captain. Anyway. And I know you'd say... And I knew you'd say that too. What do I do with you? So, the recent attacks, did you really catch wind of or something? Or did the higher-ups only send you here for show? It's not often that a campaign knight gets transferred to the boondocks for something that happened in the cities. Maybe it's a little of both. But I'll promise you this, Toland. Your hunters will be released safe and sound. They were taken into custody by patrolling campaign knights. There should never have been a misunderstanding like this between the two of us. Of course, you aren't the only wrongfully accused. You aren't one to wrongfully accuse the innocent. I can't say we're the most upstanding men you'll find anywhere, but we really have nothing to do with this. You'll have to wait a little longer, though. I can only let them go after the investigations are over. Then I trust they won't take too long. You could have just written that in a letter, you know. But you went through the trouble of meeting us face to face. You have something else to say, don't you? Your hunter, the one-eyed Zalak, he explained what you guys are here for. And I'm guessing he didn't have the guts to lie to you. He said you got a distress message from some villagers. We may only call ourselves an NGO as a way to gather intel, but if someone wants our help and can afford it, we're more than happy to step up. And that's the hottest truth. Honest truth. Hottest. We're here to help. Our methods might not be what you call noble, though. I know you're doing the right thing. That's why I feel so guilty. Listen, Toland, I want you guys to at least postpone your operation. Don't get yourselves involved in this investigation. And you should stay away from any of the companies that took on the Dzwonek City renovation project too. Sounds like you've got something big on your plate. Is someone trying to get rid of dissidents through you folks? Anyway, thanks for the advice. Seeing as you went out of your way to warn me, I'll play along. You wouldn't mind if I went ahead and gave my men a heads up first, would you? Otherwise, they might just go kidnap some poor sod. Alright, now, let's talk about that sword you're carrying on your waist. Considering how our old knight friend has never changed weapons all these years, there is no mistake. You met Mlynar, haven't you? It's nothing strange if you haven't heard about the recent chaos here, sir. You came here via the Barrenlands, so you most likely haven't been to Dzwonek yet. If you haven't come across any messengers to buy a newspaper from, you wouldn't have heard the latest news.
Mr. Summer, so that's where you were. I've put up the notice up.
Oh, Eva, good work.
Don't mention it. It's not often I get to help you out. So, if I may ask, who's this gentleman you're talking to?
He's an incredible knight.
Oh, I see. Welcome. I noticed you've been standing there for quite some time. Are you here to check out the area? I heard a lot of knights have been buying land outside the cities for their vacation homes lately. It's starting to become a trend. We haven't had any catastrophes, and there aren't any infected in the nearby villages. You couldn't ask for a cleaner place. Or perhaps you're here representing a corporation? I saw in the morning papers that Gale Industries has a lot of open positions. Apparently they're hiring for the new construction in Dzwonek. Anyone they can think can get the job done. Even the infected gets a chance to go work in the city. Did Gale Industries sponsor a nightclub?
Eva? Just remember that I had a letter for the village chief. Could you do me another favor?
Of course, no problem. You mean right now? Okay.
My apologies. The folks here have been very interested in people from the cities as of late. You'll have to forgive them their manners. You came here from the path to the north. You must have seen the new factories over by the river valley. Sturmikovo and Tverza are close to the city's path, and both have sold their land, or so to the taxman told us. That's why so many here dream of our village catching the eyes of the large corporations, letting us sell our land and move into the cities. Absurd. Right, it's just an absurd idea. I'm old, I don't expect much from life anymore. Kids like them, though, should at least be allowed to daydream. I ran from Lithanian in a hurry because I said the wrong thing and offended the wrong men. In the old days, I was a scholar who offered lip service to the nobles of the Spire. Now my hair is as hoary as it gets. All that's on my mind is how to keep myself warm and fed. And that's more than enough to consume all my sanity.
Are you playing Arknights as well? What?
Their situation is no different from mine, but even a false dream is enough to widen their perspective when they lift up their heads and look ahead. It's not my wish to criticize anyone. And even if there were someone worthy of my criticism, they're not here. If you're here to revisit the village, though, I am afraid it will disappoint. I'm looking for someone, and merely passing through. Have you met two campaign knights in gold? Gold? Most of the ones who've passed by in recent years were equipped with silver armor and lances. As for any exceptions, my apologies, but I can't recall. No need to trouble yourself. If you'd seen them, you'd remember. Are you searching without a lead? If you have any other clues, I could try to come up with something, or at least point you in a direction. Have you had any fleets of construction vehicles pass through the area in recent years? No. Then there's no need to point me anywhere. I remember. Flashback. We won't forget this, you Nearl family punk. You humiliated our master today, but we'll make those worthless bastards you so sympathize with pay for this kind of 100-fold. Changing menus. We can certainly pass this legislation to quell public opinion, but I am sure you know that the remote wilderness is far outside the reach of the Judicature's tendrils. Without you, their voices would never even have reached the Grand Knight territory. Changing menus. Enough, let's stop here. That squad's made it far enough. It doesn't matter how much you want it. Even if I keep fighting with you, Casimir's will never be a place where we can sit down with the nobles on an equal footing. Changing. Help, Sir Knight. Sir Knight, we've met before, haven't we? Please help me. I can't die in this tent. My kid will be back tomorrow morning. I can't. Changing.
Sorry, Mlynar. I can't answer that.
A sharp whistle can be heard, and the two conversing men each take a step back. A large general chamber of commerce transport drives by. The white spray painted logo on the container stares down at the pedestrians walking by. The transport's wheels drive off the dirt road, kicking up a trail of dust behind it as the engine's roar is carried away by the wind into the autumn wilderness. The bladeless knight falls silent. He and the iron behemoth stare at one another until it leaves him behind. Then he turns around and slowly walks away, following the path he had already decided on. Beside the uneven grooves left behind by the truck's tires, the knight leaves no tracks whatsoever. Sir? Why did that Casimir's knight seem so disappointed? Why did he set his sword down, and why is he still willing to move forward? It's been some 20 years. Perhaps it's finally time I agreed to take Eva to see the world outside. We met by chance not far from the factories over there. Well, that sure is worth a trip down memory lane. What was he doing here? I would guess he was probably lost. After all, it's been so many years since the last time we were here. Perhaps you'd like to say that to his face. I'll pass. And here I thought he'd head towards Ursus. After all, he left the Grand Knight territory in search of his family. But I also remember us speculating all those years ago that the northern winds and tundras his brother wrote about in his letters were made up, right? Only the top echelon of the Adeptus Praviltively knows the truth of where those two respected knights actually went. Sounds like you haven't heard anything new during your years with the campaign knights. Regrettably. He's not the only one who can't get over it. I had a dream a couple of nights ago. It was vague, but I remember us all gathered together, discussing where the two missing Nearls went. Let's just say he's here for a vacation then. We haven't heard anything for years, and Mlynar's not stupid. Right, did you tell him about how poor the public order has been these days? He's in the neighborhood. He might just give you a hand. Yes, I was indeed hoping to help. I was indeed hoping he'd help out. That's why I brought his weapon to the nightclub's craftsman for some adjustments. Alright, someone as particular about weapons as you wouldn't have been able to stand the sight of it, huh? Even if he had no need for a sword in his job, the Nearls must know some smiths in the Grand Knight territory who could keep his weapon in a decent shape. Well, they do. Remember the time we joined in on the action during the conflict with Ursus? Mlynar ordered me to contact some nightclubs, right? Those who later called my hunter's Sarkar's nightclub are all old friends of the Nearl family. They used to follow Kirill and Schnitz, and they also saw how daring and spirited Mlynar was on the battlefield. Just for context here, in case anybody is not remembering these names, especially for people who who did read the Nearl Light story or know a bit more about the Nearl family. Kirill is the grandfather that, if you just came from the Maria Nearl side story, you kinda got a glimpse at Granddaddy for a bit, at least through text. Schnitz is the father of Maria and Margaret Nearl. And just as a little side thing, because they're not gonna mention the name here, Yolanta is the name of the mother. Anyway. Hell, his niece is a craftsman too. She's young enough that she's got no idea what he's been up to, though. Almost threw herself into the whole mess with the Casimir's Major, even. But given his temper, do you really think he'd ask any of them for help? If you ask me, I think he probably could have. Do you think he's still got any use for his sword, though? Would he still be willing to help take care of trouble? And not out of friendship, but as a knight? Where's this coming from? Because I've got a personal feud. For 10 years, I looked up to the knight captain before me as my mentor. He never asked about my background, nor did he care if I'd offend any nobles. For that I respected him. And all that respect evaporated the moment I took over his position, all the paperwork of the entire nightclub. That was when I saw for myself the vile corruption behind the discipline and chivalry that I tried so faithfully to execute. I'm not trying to accuse every last campaign night in Casimir's. It's just that my position has always been a far cry from the glorious, noble knighthood I aspired to. You sure you want to tell a bounty hunter that? I've got to have at least one old friend who would listen to me vent. There's a typo in that sentence. There are two halves that shouldn't be there. You know, I just want to be an honest man who follow the rules. You probably think the code of the knighthood is inflexible, but at least it doesn't kill. At the very least, it wouldn't have let Cecilia die like that. She's gone? When? It's been a few years now. Sorry, it's not easy for me to bring this up. Though, Mlynar knows. Back then, when Selena was taken to the Grand Knight territory, I wrote him a letter asking for help. If she was taken to the Grand Knight territory, that must have been quite out of hand. That's why he couldn't do anything for her, and I could understand that. I know he wasn't the one who got her killed, and I won't take it out on him. But I never got a reply to that letter, which is why when we met again today, I couldn't help but bring it up. If my letter had gotten buried under the pile of condolences for Kirill's death, then I could only blame myself for being unlucky. But he admitted to having received and read it, yet he chose not to talk about the past or to even acknowledge my hatred. When did he become the sort of man who'd turn away when faced with questions of right and wrong? Oh. Well, then let me ask a little question. If you weren't going to ask the bounty hunters for help, yet you were going to drag him into your revenge plot, were you trying to get him on your side, or is he another target? Please don't misunderstand me. Alright, and this is where the first scene ends. We will now continue on to the next one with Only the Stars. November 28th, 5 p.m. Southern Casimir's on a small road, hard to traverse by car.
Mr. Mlynar, please try a bit harder to remember. We've met before when you and a representative from the Wasteland Company were bidding on a Gale Industries engineering contract.
I told you, I don't remember.
It wouldn't have been 3 years ago when the Blood Knight won the major. They were broadcasting the award ceremony at the restaurant where they held the banquet after the auction.
I've never paid any attention to those night games.
Then do you remember toasting with every last representative from Gale Industries? You were pretty drunk by the end. I can remember it like it was yesterday. I never imagined it could be so difficult for the sales department of a large company to make a single deal. Considering the results though, I'd say you got a pretty good deal yourself. At the time, a lot of our representatives were quite impressed with you, even though...
Flattery will get you nowhere. We just happen to have crossed paths. You don't need to see this as a favor, nor should you expect me to ask for anything in return.
How can you say that? If I haven't met you, I'd still be wandering around lost in the wilderness. Look, I'm not trying to suck up to you. I really just wanted to thank you. After we get back to Cavalierki, I swear I'll find a way to express my gratitude.
If you still plan to make it back on time, then you'd best focus on the road and watch your step, miss.
Sorry, these heels are way too high, and it's hard to keep my balance.
God, this is a super hard to pronounce name, so excuse me if I mess this one up so many times. Miss Desch.
You'll have to forgive me for looking so unprofessional. Shoot, where'd my lip gloss go? At least I had the papers in a binder so they didn't get dirty. Please, give me a minute to get my stuff back in order.
Let's take a break here.
Oh, okay. I really am sorry about all of this, Mr. Mlynar. I wouldn't have had to bother you like this if my rental car hadn't broken down. I only just drove it from the rental company to the hotel last night, and the engine was already dead by morning. I'm going to have to sue those guys for renting me a defective car. By the way, if you ever run into any other little problems like this, I might be able to help you out. It's my area of expertise.
I'm good.
Alright, I still haven't told you about the case I'm working on. It concerns a little village called Twierdza. It was originally owned by a noble knight named Marek, who mortgaged the land to Gale Industries about 7 years ago. But after that, he turned around and sold it to the villagers living there. Naturally, they assumed they'd finally have the opportunity to own land, so they bought the farmland for 10 years' worth of taxes. But half a year ago, Mr. Marek passed away to illness, and only then did Gale Industries put the development of Twierdza on the agenda. That's when we discovered that a lot of the titles had gone underwater. A good chunk of the villagers defaulted on the loans they took out years ago to buy the land and were suddenly informed that it no longer belonged to them. Isn't that a bit outrageous?
I don't recall asking you about any of this.
I just thought you'd be interested in the dark underbelly of a business you're working with.
I don't need to hear yet another story of a lawyer seeking to right the world's wrongs.
Righting the world's wrongs? I certainly wouldn't say that. This is just my job. By the way, Mr. Mlynar, why are you leaving Cavalierki? Are you also on a business trip?
Vacation.
Oh, lucky you. I don't even remember the last time I took a vacation. Maybe it was back when the Black Knight won the championship? I had money on the tournament, so I thought it'd be a good time to treat myself. But my earnings didn't actually add up too much. Oh, sorry, I have to take a call real quick. Hello? I am very sorry. I still haven't arrived at my destination due to some unforeseen circumstances along the way. No, don't worry, there won't be any delays. I swear I'll complete the negotiations by today and report back to the company. Yes, I'm fully aware that this was an error on my part and I'm fully responsible for the consequences. Oh, they hung up. The director's going to chew me out again when I get back. And I thought getting sent all the way out here was already bad enough.
You said you were here to handle the suit regarding the acquisition of the villagers' land?
That's right.
But you mentioned something about reporting back to the company over the phone?
I think you're misunderstanding something, Mr. Mlynar. I am in charge of the land acquisition suit, but I represent Gale Industries. We're finally here. Are you alright, Mr. Mlynar? Should we find somewhere to rest?
Excuse me, are you Miss Desch, the attorney?
And you must be the attorney who contacted me earlier, Mr.
Hum? I guess it's Hum? Should be Hum?
Mr. Hum. Sorry for being so late. As you can see, there were some unexpected issues along the way.
No worries, it's perfectly understandable considering how far we are from Cavalierki.
So, Mr. Mlynar, want to grab a drink after I'm all done with this? I hear the villagers here have a tradition of brewing beer.
I'll pass.
Alright then, in that case, thanks for all the help.
Miss Desch, can we get started right away?
Oh, of course, lead the way.
Good, now follow me please. Mr. Hum saying to himself, so lawyers from big companies even take special attendance with them on business trips? Huh.
When I took the case, I thought I'd have to take the time to explain all the legal mumbo-jumbo to the residents, but I never thought they'd hire a lawyer of their own.
Oh, also, by the way, get ready for some hardcore legal mumbo-jumbo. Oh, boy. The villagers turned to an NGO called the Casimirian Rural Dispute Mediation Association, which sent me to deal with the situation here in Twierdza.
Great, having a professional on their side makes this much easier. But before we officially get started, Mr. Hum, I'd like to make sure we're both on the same page. According to our prior communication, you've already informed the residents about the ownership dispute over Twierdza's land, and everyone has agreed to the demolition of the village.
Correct. I also reached out to Mr. Marek Sol's heir, his son, Mr. Marek Jr. He is currently serving as a campaign knight and has no interest in reclaiming ownership. Though the legal dispute has not yet been satisfactorily resolved, our most urgent task is to provide relief to the villagers. Furthermore, we hope that both parties will be able to privately reach a peaceful resolution so as to avoid the complicated deliberation process of the National Council.
Naturally, time is of the essence. The quicker we can wrap this case up, the better.
The villagers of Twierdza have authorized me to negotiate with Gale Industries on their behalf, and I promise to secure fair compensation for the demolition of Twierdza and their recollection. So, with that in hand, let's start by discussing the plan proposed by the villagers. We hope that Gale Industries will allocate housing to each inhabitant at a ratio of 10:1, according to the area of arable land owned by each household, and compensate the demolition at 80,000 marks per household.
May I ask how they arrived at these numbers?
They were the results of a professional market valuation as well as collective discussion among the residents. Considering the detriment the relocation will have upon their lives, as well as the strength of Gale Industries' financial position, I believe these numbers are fair to both parties.
Naturally, you have the right to offer your price in a negotiation. If you have nothing more to add, I'd like to present Gale's initial offer. We will provide housing within the city at a ratio of 3:1, according to the area of each person's residence, as well as 800 marks per household to compensate for the demolition. If you couldn't hear me clearly, I can repeat that.
Miss Desch, I don't think this is the time to be cracking jokes.
This isn't a joke, Mr. Hum.
In that case, I suppose I'll have to start from the top and break down our valuation of Twierdza's land.
Let's hear it.
Let's compare it to the closest neighboring village, Strumikovo. The lord there made a deal to sell all his arable land to Misko at a final price of 600,000 marks per hectare. In terms of the quality of the arable land as well as geographical location, it is very comparable to Twierdza's. As such, that price could certainly serve as a reference point.
Coincidentally, I also happen to be familiar with the sale you just mentioned, but isn't it too early to equate these two situations?
Please elaborate.
First of all, despite the fact that both villages are the same distance from Kavalierki, there is a road leading straight to Strumikovo, whereas Twierdza is only accessible via a long, rugged mountain trail. The two villages also differ significantly in terms of traversability and accessibility. A large portion of the land in Twierdza is occupied by mountainous terrain. Secondly, the quality of the arable land you brought up is a fictitious concept. By conventional standards, it is more sensible to assess farmland by the value of the crops it produces. In Strumikovo, the village has a complete production line, from the planting and harvesting of grains to the processing of foodstuffs.
Foodstuffs.
The value of the land's output is indisputable. By contrast, Twierdza's main crop is hops, and the village's sole beer processing factory closed down months ago. Reportedly, the site also had serious problems with environmental pollution. Therefore, any value of Twierdza must take into account the profitability of its crops, as well as the detriment posed by its lack of accessibility. From a multi-factor analysis, the land occupied by these two villages could hardly be more different. I fail to see how it can serve as a reference point.
There may be truth in what you say, but our claim for compensation does not arise solely from the value of the land itself. We must also take into account the fact that the villagers here will be forced to relocate, changing their way of life and requiring them to learn a new trade. It is primarily for this reason that they require compensation.
Mr. Ham, I'm not sure if you've checked the statistics or not. 10 years ago, there were 215 households in Twierdza, of which 85% were engaged in agricultural production, using 95% of the arable land. But as of right now, there are 137 households, with the two aforementioned metrics falling to 15% and 21% respectively.
That is a massive fall-off.
In other words, in light of the fact that most residents have already shifted to light industry and handicrafts as their main livelihood, then the notion that Gale Industries has an obligation to compensate them just for living on arable land is perhaps a little unreasonable?
Even the smallest voices deserve to be heard.
Mr. Ham, did you know that a little over 10 years ago you could still see newsstands and the like in the streets and alleyways of Kavalierki? People who couldn't get their hands on a ticket for the night competitions could only wait at these newsstands, hoping to get the results of the games from a paper hot off the presses.
Of course, I was one of them, back in my teenage years.
However, with the recent rise of intercity networks and logistics, you'll be hard-pressed to find a single newsstand in the city these days.
That is also a very massive development when you think about it. Very quick and rapid modernization.
Tell me, did the people who used to run them for a living get a single bit of compensation from the government? Is that your idea of fair?
I don't think your analogy is entirely appropriate here, but now that we're talking history, Ms. Desch, you should also know that across the history of civilization, the endless annexation of land has always been a major destabilizing factor. When we settle on a price for the land here in Twierdza today, we will also be setting a reference point for the villagers' land transactions in the years to come. If the National Council were to weigh in on this matter, do you think they would allow Gale Industries to buy Twierdza's land at such an absurdly low price?
Mr. Ham, you seem to be misunderstanding the fundamental issue at hand. Gale is paying compensation, not buying the land. When you trace everything back, Mr. Marek's deal with Gale came first, while his deal with the villagers came afterwards. From a legal standpoint, we already own the land. While we have an obligation to compensate the residents out of social responsibility, your attempt to treat this as a payment for the land itself is completely unfounded.
Regardless, I'm afraid the villagers will find the meager sum you propose to be quite unpalatable.
Of course, that was only our initial offer, and there is still room for negotiation. Even in the worst-case scenario, both of us reserve the right to request arbitration from the National Council. But when that time comes, the judge will hear all the exact same arguments I've made today. How confident are you that you can fetch a higher price in court?
Then
how about we reevaluate what a fair compensation for the demolition and relocation would be?
A lot of mumbo jumbo. Throat so dry. Better.
A toast to a successful negotiation, to a signed contract.
Cheers.
I can't remember the last time I got to kick back and knock down a drink like this. Guess this business trip wasn't all bad.
Your business trip has been a total disaster for me, though.
Don't be so hard on yourself, Mr. Ham. There's not a lawyer out there who wins all the time. Besides, this was just a private settlement. It's perfectly normal not to get everything you want. Take it easy. A lawyer's career is long and meandering. Just keep working at it. All I know is, right here and now, the beer is amazing.
To be honest, Miss Desch, I've known your name for a long time now. The Red Vine once reported that you've never lost a case on defense. You're considered a gold star attorney even among the many experts at the Longren law firm.
You're gonna make me blush.
When I heard that you would be representing Gale in this case, I already knew it would be hard for me to gain any sort of advantage. Nevertheless, I tried to prepare for the negotiation as best as I could, but you're indeed more capable than I imagined. There's something I'd like to ask you, Miss Desch. As an experienced professional, what do you think went wrong with my handling of the case?
Oh, I can tell that you put a good amount of time into it, but all in the wrong direction.
The wrong direction?
Alright, enough talk about work. No Discord, no Concord. Come on, bottoms up.
Now that the contract has been signed, can you answer a question? How much money do you stand to make from handling this case?
That's a fairly touchy subject, wouldn't you say? Well, why don't you take a guess?
Considering your reputation with Cavalierki's legal circles, I'd guess at least 50,000 marks if you can get the price down to within the expected margins.
Try again.
100,000? Shakes head. I didn't even want to think about it then.
Actually, Gale gave me 1 million marks to resolve this case. In other words, if I can get the price down below that, the rest of the money is mine. Oh, but I still have to cough up for taxes.
I don't think I'll ever see that kind of money in my life.
But the most important thing is, the beer here is something else. Give me another mug, barkeep. Right away. The beer here uses our signature fermentation method. You won't taste this stuff anywhere else. Huh? Nowhere else? Ma'am, can I interest you in talking business? I'd be willing to buy the recipe from you. Just name your price. I'm afraid I can't do that. Dad would never agree to it. Besides, even if I gave you the secret recipe, you wouldn't be able to do anything with it. This kind of beer can only be made with hops grown in Tverza. If you like it so much, buy some extra to take with you. Also, the land here was just purchased by the General Chamber of Commerce. The next time you come, there might not be any hops left. Oh, what a pity.
Miss Desch, do you think I have any chance of getting into Longren?
Excuse me?
Sorry, I know I have a long way to go, but please, if you could put in a good word for me, even if it's just for an internship, I swear I'll give it my all.
And here I was thinking a well-intentioned lawyer representing these poor villagers would look down on a firm that specializes in corporate clients.
No, I've never thought like that. A lawyer's job is to fight for the clients, no matter who they are. There's nothing I can say. There's There's nothing I can say to that.
Even if it's to help large corporations squeeze out innocents and help civilians, there is no justice in that, is there?
I've been practicing the law for 5 years now. Who still believes in justice in this day and age? Even if I rummaged through all these massive codices of law, I doubt I'd find a single mention of the word. Actually, I do remember this saying from a book on legal theory. How did it go again? Laws only bring absurdity, never justice.
The notion that justice can be achieved through man-made laws is absurd on its face.
Right, that's the one. Not to mention, how can a small-time lawyer like me, how can I even afford a decent place to live in Kavalierki? What do you think, Miss Desch?
Huh? Oh, sorry, I spaced out a little. I was just thinking, if that nice girl knew that I'm the cold-hearted lawyer who squeezed them out of their compensation money, would she kick me out of the bar? My bad, I think I've had a bit too much to drink. I need to go outside and cool off. So, let's talk about all this work stuff later.
She lifts her head and suddenly realizes how out of place her long breath seems. The quiet night shrouds her as she's remembering for the first time to pull down the curtains to block the never-ending stream of lights.
So you can still see the stars outside of Kavalierki. How many years has it been since I last saw a starry sky?
Flashback.
Hello everyone, my name is Desch, and today I'll be starting as a novice lawyer in training. This is my first ever case. Starting today, I'll use everything I know to uphold the dignity of the law and protect justice. Hey, why is everyone laughing? Did I say something I shouldn't have?
Oh, sweet, sweet summer child.
It really has been so many years. Oh, Mr. Mlynar, you're still here? Thank goodness. I've been busy all day and was worried that you've already left. I wouldn't get a chance to thank you.
There was an accident along the highway, and they had to temporarily block the road. Also, don't forget your things next time.
Oh, that's the ID badge on my work uniform. Wait, when did that strap break? Was it when I fell down earlier?
Someone took note of you.
Oh, thank you. I guess that means you saved my hide again.
You seem to be in a good mood. Did you secure a good price for Gale?
It was a passable deal. Do you also think I'm an unethical lawyer?
You'd never hear such naive, senseless words out of my mouth.
There's something I'd like to ask you. Did you know that after the bidder conference back then, our rival, Vestland Company, was sued for serious defects in their construction materials?
I might have seen something like that in the papers. Even in a place like Kavalierki, where it isn't uncommon to cut corners in the construction industry, the reporter still gave it a full-page article. Then you throw in the fact that the National Council slapped enough fines on them to bankrupt them. People are going to remember that.
You really do know your stuff, huh? Or rather, you knew all along, didn't you? You knew how Wasteland operated, which is why you spared no effort trying to secure the contract, so they wouldn't get the hospital construction project.
I didn't expect to hear such naive, senseless words from a seasoned attorney.
Naive?
I have no idea how you came to such a ridiculous conclusion, so I just assume you were trying to insult me.
Sorry, not at all. I was just trying to make some small talk.
It's getting late. I'll be heading back now.
You're not going to try the specialty beers here?
I never liked the drinking.
I just wanted someone to chat with, but looks like I said something I shouldn't have again.
Dash slowly walks towards the not-so-vast farmland by the side of the road. After the autumn harvest, the fields of straws were neatly pressed down, resembling an all-natural mat. The aroma of hops coalesces within the scent of the humid air, leaving a deep impression in her nostrils. She lies down and extends a finger, gesturing at the stars in the sky as if searching for something.
Where are the stars that make up Libra right now?
Huh. You know what? Sorry if I'm pausing here, but it didn't hit me when I was reading this just before going through with the narration right now. Libra, huh? Again, using familiar terms. Okay.
Hello? Yes, it's me. There is nothing to worry about. There were no issues in signing the contract. I'm very sorry, but it's too late for me to return to Cavalierki tonight. Yes, you may deduct the extra day from my annual leave. I assure you there will be no further delays, and I'll submit the contract to the company. Oh, hung up again. Jeez, I just wanted to gaze at the stars in peace. Maybe it's time I change things up a little.
Miss Desch, I still have some things to attend to here, so I won't be seeing you off. I've learned a lot from our negotiations. Thank you very much.
You're the humble, seriously. If I ever see you back in Cavalierki, I'll take you out for another drink.
I should probably be the one picking up the tab next time. Oh, and one more thing, about the Longren law firm.
That's still on your mind, huh? To be honest, it's not like I can't give you a recommendation. So how about I give you a simple examination first? Take a look at this.
This is the land sale contract between Mr. Marek and Gale.
Take a closer look. Do you see any problems with it?
I don't see anything wrong with the terms, and the details are fairly comprehensive as well. Wait, the signing party isn't Mr. Marek, but rather his son? He was still alive at the time, and the contract provides no evidence that he ever authorized his son to act as his agent. Marek Jr. should not have been eligible to sign this on his father's behalf. But that's not all. Marek Jr. is a campaign knight now, so why does he have so many dealings with Gale? In other words, based on this, Gale Industries has no claim on the land of Twierdza village.
Not necessarily. After all, Mr. Marek has passed away, and Gale has countless other ways of backing up the transaction.
But this is a critical breakthrough in the case. Miss Desch, couldn't maliciously leaking confidential information like this lead to disbarment?
I happened to accidentally lose some sensitive information at the site of the negotiation. How could it possibly be considered malicious?
I should have seen this coming.
Actually, should have requested these documents from Gale Industries at the very beginning of negotiations. They'll probably look for a way to cover it up, but it'll at least set them on the back foot. But failing to take this into consideration was an error on your part.
So instead of making a fuss over the value of the land, I should have tried to challenge the legitimacy of Gale's claim in the first place. Is this what you meant when you said I went in the wrong direction?
See, all you needed was a little hint. You're pretty sharp after all. For a lawyer, having the right evidence is akin to having a bullet. But you still need the right gun for it to be effective. So, Mr. Hum, what do you plan to do next?
I'll need to think this through carefully.
I'll still submit the contract we already signed to Gale Industries. During that time, you can file a lawsuit with the National Council on the basis of newly discovered evidence. It doesn't matter whether you want to renegotiate the compensation or reject Gale's ownership of the land altogether. Regardless of the final outcome, you can still put this whole experience on your resume. Then you can try talk to Longren.
But why are you doing this? Why are you taking such a huge risk? To help the villagers here?
Oh, don't get it twisted. I'm not that great a person. Just think of it this way. I'd like to have another opportunity to enjoy Tvirtsa's beer in the future.
Yes, these are all the victims from the incident last night. A minibus bound to Dzwonek. Do you recognize this old man? That's strange. I've been delivering letters for decades and I've never seen him send or receive anything. He's never even bought a paper before. Doesn't seem like an educator at all. By the way, want a copy of today's paper? Find out about what happened in the incident for the low price of 50 hellers. Word on the street is that some infected was causing trouble, protesting about how they couldn't live in the city. Get a load of those thankless thugs. Who do they think let them in the first place?
Mr. Mlynar, my car's all fixed up now, but mind showing me the way again?
I'm heading to Dzwonek. It's not on the way to Kavalierki.
Oh, I won't be going to Kavalierki for a while either. Heading to Dzwonek too doesn't sound too bad.
And what do you plan to do there?
I don't have anything particular in mind yet. But maybe I'll treat myself to a little vacation and then find a new job.
Well, we do know what the new job is gonna be. Anyway, we will be finishing off today's episode with the third entry here, titled I Have Gazed. To Mlynar Nearl. I haven't heard back in some time. It may be you're too busy with life in Kavalierki to exchange letters with an old friend. I respect your choice and I hope all is going well for you. I've heard many anecdotes from the nightclub. Should we have another opportunity to convene, I'd be happy to tell you in person. My affairs are still a far cry from my ideal, but I've no regrets. I only intend to waste so much ink on civilities. Let me be candid. I write to you for this reason. Selena has been arrested and sent to the Grand Knight territory. She is the most devout, refined knight I have ever met, a companion in arms and my true love. I needn't say more. You must remember her. Red of hair and signal flare, laughter that could smooth any furrowed brow. So many a time has she led us out alive from places of death. I could never accept her being the first to leave us. I swear on my knight's honor that Selena is innocent. Indeed, it is her upstanding nature that has so bristled the murky-hearted politicians and merchants. It is not right that a knight like her be a sacrifice to the petty stunts of such authorities. Were we facing a foreign foe, be they the shield guards of Ursurs or the Kunstritter of the Lithanian, I'd be charging headlong at their ranks, fighting until my armor is shattered and my lance is in twain. Just want to stop here for a second. While shield guards is obviously easy to understand what they are, we've seen those. Kunstritter is obviously two German words smashed into one, considering it's Lithanian. Basically, it translates to arts knights. Anyway, continuing. But against the National Council, against the General Chamber of Commerce, I am powerless. Mlynar, it pains me greatly to disturb your life of peace. Still, I have tried all else, and now I can only beg your help. I beseech you, while I cannot do this myself, pass on this evidence in my place, and thereby clear her name. For you are my friend, and you are a Nearl. This is no lovesick entreaty, Mlynar. That is not why I beg. I simply ask that one worthy knight save another. Sincerely, your old friend, Chitsibor. The letter had been opened and placed back inside its envelope. It sat in a sea of so many other papers, stowed away in a jumbled drawer. A TV broadcast? We interrupt with breaking news from the city. Xeno Shelvin, ringleader of multiple infected incidents, including the riot that took place days ago in the New District as well as the assault and clash with guards at the city entrance, has given himself up today. The suspect was a worker recruited from Gale Industries' Infected Help Up program. He claims to have been dissatisfied with his life, which led to him planning the recent riots. Gale Industries, the firm in charge of principal construction of the new district, stated they would work as fast as humanly possible to repair any damage to the buildings, alongside making reparations to residents. In addition, they plan to tighten up security administration and put an end to any similar incidents. We remind all residents that you are urged to take proper safety measures in the event you need to leave the city. We would like anyone to remain calm. Anyone? Everyone. An onlooking passerby. Giving infected work my ass is just trouble for normal folk in the end. Wouldn't they all be vile Gloompits or Chow by now if Gale never gave them a chance? He's got some nerve being dissatisfied with life. Never should have left them in the first place. Not one good thing about the infected. But now they're here, and they try and bring all their friends in too. Look at the recent news. They don't even give two shits about the guards.
News says he turned himself in. He wouldn't do that. I don't want to believe in it either, but what gives?
Two days ago, November 27th, 2 p.m. New District, Dzwonek, construction area.
Dead end ahead.
Could probably pile more against this door. It's a swarm of people out there. I can't hold for too long.
I still don't get it. Why are they attacking us? Did I say something wrong just now?
No, they didn't even give you a chance to. It's more like they're indiscriminately lashing out.
If I remember right, and I'm pretty sure I do, the task we got was to make contact with all the infected orcs forming along the Casimir's border towns, not pacify local infected mobs.
I'm guessing our intel's a little old.
This is our first real formal mission since we hit Rhode Island. Do they always handle problems this tricky?
Oh, you will learn very quick. Also, I really like this. I really like that they included this like first formal mission since the Pino Silvestri's nightclub joined up with Rhode Island, and seeing them out and about doing stuff. I love this little thing. Anyway.
It was bound to be more complex compared to taking down single opponents in the arena. What now? Think we should fight our way out if we gotta?
Rhode Island employee regulations say our first priority when facing sudden conflict with infected in the field is to maintain basic self-control.
Well, this sure as heck isn't the time to start resetting the handbook.
You two, this way, come with me. This should be far enough. Most people won't know about this passage. It's not fully built yet.
Phew, thanks.
Can I ask, why did you... You're Arknight and Flametail Knight, right?
Huh?
What? Arknight, I'm a die-hard fan of yours. I've seen every single match you're in. Oh boy. By the way, I love this guy. And you'll see why in a moment. Wait, you have the cannon. That's the one you had when you beat Brass Rust. I still remember how that went. You spared Brass Rust Ingra right at the end, and then fired a shot into the air, right? That was so cool. It looks just like on TV. No, wait, it looks a little bigger even when you see the real thing. Can I touch it?
Whoa, Ashley, figures we'd still find fans of yours this far out from the GKT.
Oh, yeah, I'm super into you too, Flametail Knight.
You don't gotta give me special treatment. I'm not the jealous type. Can I ask who you are?
Oh, sorry. I got too excited. Forgot to introduce myself. I'm Zeno, one of the infected here to work in Zwanek. I guess I am a foreman, to be exact.
We heard that there were infected in Zwanek setting up a mutual aid group. Are you part of it too?
How should I put this? Well, you see, the infected here weren't originally allowed to live in the cities. Gale Industries started constructing a new sector here some time ago, and they needed a lot of hands on deck for that. So they hired a few infected and brought them into work. At first, everyone felt like they'd gotten a chance in a lifetime, chance for some honest work. But gradually you heard more and more complaining. A lot of people got the sense they were paying us way too little compared to regular folk. It's not like we were ever going to get as much as they do, but some things are worth trying, just like how the Blood Knight fought for a new path for infected. So I was really in support of us organizing to protest against the Gale Industries. But after that, well, you've seen what it's like outside.
So the rioting, the raids, that was all infected hired by Gale?
No, not anymore. Not all of them. I've got no idea where all those people came from. I don't even know. How they can think of so many ways to commit violence?
We're getting nowhere like this. It's only going to make the situation worse and worse for the infected. Ashley, from the sound of it, do you think someone deliberately went and lit the fuse?
Hey, it's almost over though. Just watch out for a few days and you'll be fine.
Almost over?
Oh yeah, what are you two doing in Zwanek? Sightseeing? Maybe an exhibition match?
Actually, we're not even competition nights anymore. Now we are partnered with a drug company dedicated to curing neuropathy. Our work's different, but our ideal of helping more infected sure isn't changing anytime soon. And we're here precisely to bone up on what living conditions are like for the infected in these parts. Though, you know, the situation sure is a little more than we bargained for. If you're a night sports fan, then I'm afraid that what we're here to do is going to disappoint you.
Excuse me, who cares about those fancy pants Mlynites with their sponsored gear and their dumb show fights? I love the Pinus Silvestris nightclub. I love when you guys make those nobles remember the taste of dirt and channel the fury of all of us infected. But since they already know our might thanks to you guys, it's not like you've got to stick to arena blood sports forever. The fact you got to help the infected even more now is like, I'm more happy for you than it's even possible to be in a single moment. If you really do have a medical organization working to treat infected, then that's just, man, how do you even imagine it? Anyway, can I just, I know it's a little awkward, but like I'll ever get this chance again, Arknight, can I get your autograph?
Of course, just, hold on a moment, sorry, I don't think I've got a pen or paper on me right now. Oh, but I do have a signature from the Radiant Knight with me, and I may as well give it to you. You'd probably appreciate it more. It's okay, I've got more chances to meet her in the future.
You're so kind, thank you, but if it's okay, I'd actually prefer your signature. I love this guy.
Why?
The Radiant Knight's really great and all, strong and upstanding and everything. But for us regular infected, seeing knights like you standing in the arena is even more of an inspiration.
Sona, lend me your sword for a second. Sure, but what are you gonna do? Carve your name on a helmet? Jeez, leave it to you, Ashley. It's not too good of an autograph, but I'd say you can make it out. Take this, if you don't mind it.
Gazes in disbelief. I love this guy. I love this guy. My favorite NPC in a while. Pardon. Thank you so much, but this is just too precious of a gift. I can't accept this. It's okay. I'm over the moon's just getting to meet you two today. And, sorry, I've got some work I need to do now. I've got just one request. If possible, could neither of you tell anyone you saw me?
Wait.
I've got to go. I hope we can meet again.
He was right there with us when the riot broke out. There's no way he took part in it, but... You're kind of worried too, right? What if Zeno really was the guy who set it all up? The big corps have always had an iron grip on what the news reports. They could suppress a single person's voice without lifting a finger. There's too much suspicious about this. But on the other hand, I feel like I can't really say anything off the table for an infected, no matter how extreme. I mean, after you've gone through so much, I just don't want this to be the sort of person he is. My dish is telling me the same thing, but this isn't the kind of thing he would do. Well, if we care this much, then forget Rhode Island employee regulations for now. Let's get to the bottom of this, Penis Sylvester style. We just need to pick up the pace a little, and we won't get caught. I bet the doctor would understand.
Go ahead, best NPC, save life. Approved, stamp.
And? How do we do this? Suppose Zeno is the prime suspect in this whole outlash. How'd they be dealing with him right about now? With an incident of this level, they'd probably ship him off to the Grand Knight territory for the National Council to handle. So, if Zeno hasn't been sent to the GKT, and he's hiding somewhere else, doesn't that mean something else brought on this whole shebang? I mean, obviously, Zvonek is smaller than Kavalierki, but it's still going to be hard finding someone who doesn't want to be found. Not necessarily. Let's do it just like we used to. First we test the waters. If what Tolan said before is still valid, then maybe we can find a bounty hunter and start our inquiries there. And then... Zona? No, I think my eyes just went funny. Felt like I recognized someone just now. You know what? Let's get a move on.
Again, another TV broadcast. Built to stand testament to Casimir and Lethanian's friendly diplomatic ties, the Voice of the Knights is now nearing completion. The cutting of the ribbon is anticipated to take place on the 1st of December. Count Dyrolf, a representative of the visiting Lethanian delegation, will be personally attending and is expected to give a speech. Sadly, the Lethanian-born celebrity knight, the Candlelight Viviana, is unable to attend the ceremony. However, she will be giving her blessings to the friendship between the two nations through an external connection. You're quite transfixed by the statue, aren't you? Pardon? Sorry to accost you so suddenly. I'm just a tourist here on my travels. Seeing you stood before the statue for so long, I couldn't help but try and strike up a conversation. Personally, I greatly admire this work of art. Its creator is one of Lethanian's most distinguished sculptors. The shield transfigured into a music staff, while the gunblade and the wand form notes, a beautiful message imparted through an exquisite design. What are your thoughts? Zoan Knight's arms and armor can do more than be consumed as ornaments. They can serve as instruments to sing odes to a brief peace. What relentlessly convenient things. You seem to opine that it's not for a knight's sword and shield to perform such mild, elegant passages. They can't ever give voice, let alone sing. And yet better peace and culture exchange than war and hostilities, correct? If only people could see the cost and the value of our current peace. If you'd let me be so bold once more, were you perhaps once military? No, I suppose in Casimir's parlance you would be a campaign knight? Why do you ask? The Thanians have a special regard for the city. Dzwonek, the caravan bell's terminus, Casimir's fortress upon the southern frontier. Even after so many years of peace, the bones of sentry towers and turrets lie hidden in its corners. But even back then, even at the height of the Thanians' arrogance, when its war ambitions were most tumultuous, its military has never attempted to outright take this strategic town. The Spirecasters' elite were forced to infiltrate through roundabout means, and that expedition left no survivors. That was 30 years ago, perhaps even longer. Most today would never even touch upon its scars. So I'm very curious as to your view. Mine? If every tourist here is as prudent as you, then I fear Dzwonek City Hall will need to redouble its efforts to put up its facade. But you're wrong. Like you, I'm also a mere passing tourist. As far as for my thoughts, they went and placed it in Casimir's, as if the sheer comedy of it wasn't biting enough. Flametail Knight? Arknight, what are you doing here?
So we did guess right. You've got a bunch of plain-clothed goons standing around guarding an out-of-the-way building with no roof on it yet, in the middle of a Gala Industries construction district. A little too obvious, don't you think? But hey, you need more than a few goons to stop us.
It's dangerous as hell here. Whoever you saw along the way, that was only a tiny fraction of the guards. A giant group of them could be here any moment. Get out of here, quick!
We're here to take you with us. I don't know what kind of tricks Gale Industries is up to, but if they really want to catch whoever started the riots, they're gonna have to do it by the book. We're not gonna sit on our asses and let them play judge, jury, and executioner.
You didn't incite the riot, did you? Ashlock, Flametail, I'm really grateful you'd go so far for someone you've only met once, but I can't go.
Why not? Shh, Ashley, footsteps.
Whatever the case, we're getting ourselves out from under their thumbs first. Follow us, Zeno. We know full well how cities make infected disappear. We can't remain in their hands. This is probably just the beginning. I truly do respect you two, and I'm more grateful than you know for everything you do for the infected. But I'm sorry. All my life, I could never become a knight like you have, fighting in the spotlight for the infected. The most my life is worth is making my family's lives a bit better. Can you get to the point?
Ashley, time's up.
Mark my words, we'll meet again.
Phew. Anyone still following? Should be in the clear for now.
Sorry, I got a little rash just now.
I don't blame you or anything. Just calm down a little. Before anything else, we need to take this from the top. Who's there?
Flametail's sword comes quick as a flash. The instant she hears a footstep, she thrusts her rapier behind her like a shooting star, but it fails to make it far. The blade is firmly in the grasp of a gauntlet-wreathed hand, rendering her unable to even pull it back. Until the figure in the shadows lets it go. So this is the sort of knight that farce of the arena nurtures. Drawing your blade with no forethought is tantamount to throwing your life away.
I guess my eyes weren't playing tricks on me back near the plaza. I recognize you. You're the head of the Nearls, the Radiant Knight's uncle, right? Never got to talk to you back in Cavalierki, but we heard from the Rhode Island people how you did your part to protect the infected back then. We really appreciate that.
I hardly did a thing.
I also heard from the Radiant Knight how your swordsmanship's totally on par with hers, but you only ever got a go at them when you're angry, so I guess we don't get to ask if you can give us some pointers.
Venus Silvestris. Why are you in an under-construction district?
Oh, we came on a commission from Rhode Island. We're aiding the infected here. After all, that's pretty much why we founded the nightclub too. We thought it'd be a cinch at first, actually. But we only found out once we got here that things are a little tanglier than we believed. And that's the rundown.
Gale Industries?
You know him too?
Only from a few scant exchanges. They're nothing special.
From the angle of pushing infected around, yeah, they're nothing special at all. Oh, yeah, so why are you here?
Just to see what was happening in the city.
Oh, don't tell me you're here about the infected riots too. Could you help us out with this one then?
I never said.
No, I get what you're worried about. We're not planning to butt heads with Gale's army of rent-a-cops. Our goal might be to rescue Mr. Zeno, but now that it's reached this point, his hidden motive for refusing to escape might just be the key to this whole infected riot conundrum. At least I hope so. Out of all the infected here, he's the one most willing to link up with us, after all.
I never said that I supported the infected.
But even if this had nothing to do with the infected, it's still a blatant false charge. We can't let more innocents become sacrifices to the cheap stunts of the politicians and tycoons.
Mlynar suddenly turns to look behind him. The Pinus Silvestris knights follow his gaze, but the end of the alley is empty. The only thing to be seen is the decorative dome of a faraway skyscraper, its neon lights twinkling a romantic wine red in the dark of night. It hits Flametail that she doesn't know what this Nearl is here to do. He isn't even armed, but if he needs it, she'd totally be willing to lend him her own sword. There will always be more sacrifices. You and I might already be once. I'll go confirm a few matters. Then, Pinus Silvestris, I have some questions I'll need to ask you. You two?
I told you we'd meet again.
I'm sorry. No, thank you.
You're thanking the wrong folks this time. Mr. Mlynar here's the one who talked Gale Industries into dropping all charges against you.
Thank you. Which company are you from? Or are you a Lord Noble? No, I'm merely an average office worker. I simply happened to cross paths with someone from Gale recently, and heard talk of the direction they were taking their business.
Huh? Who knew that Nearl guy had... Who knew that the Nearls had a guy with this sort of talent too?
But I can't make the heads or tails of it. How is an ordinary infected like me possibly worth all this effort?
In the face of justice, worth doesn't even come into it. As long as it's in our power, we'll strive forth to meet any unrighteousness. That's Pinus Silvestris' creed.
Since when?
Since just now.
Alright, true enough.
Zeno, what did you mean by using yourself to give your family better lives? And before that, why did you want us to pretend we'd never seen you? Did Gale Industries threaten you into taking all the blame for the riot?
I can't tell you.
Mr. Mlynar just talked over your circumstances with Gale. That means they don't plan to give you any more trouble. No need to worry.
Oh, okay then. You guessed right. Gale Industries was under pressure from all sides with the recent infected riot, and they had to come up with an explanation that satisfied everyone. And my family really needed the reward they were offering. As for why they weren't willing to give the workers a proper investigation, I've got as little as a clue as you do.
If I remember right, Gale's got a subsidiary in the Oripathy protective gear business. Though after joining Rhode Island, seeing their ads again is honestly kind of hilarious.
Who discussed all this with you?
Would you still be able to pick them out?
Actually, it was a campaign knight who came to me. What did you say? You, come with me. Okay, where are you taking me? Somewhere you'll be safe. Now, I don't know who the Casimirian city dweller question mark is, or if that will be revealed later. I have a slight idea, considering I haven't obviously read ahead as you've seen just now. But I know who he's talking to, or at least I believe I know who he's talking to, so let's just go with this for now. Yes, our application to allot a team to enter Dzwonek and aid with local law enforcement has been approved. Additionally, we can presume he's already noticed someone is monitoring his tracks. After he stepped in to negotiate, Gale Industries released the infected Zeno Shelvin of their own accord. I've already checked with them. They have the capacity to cope with the current pressure from public opinion. The next step is to shift the masses' attention to the illegally immigrated infected in the city. Now we have a voice on the phone. It doesn't matter. Those affairs are theirs to handle as they wish. Our goal has always laid elsewhere. As for Nearl, so now you're willing to step forward for the justice you believe in? Then why not then? Alright, and that will be it for for today's narration. Next time we'll be going over the next two stories in one episode, and then the final two stories in the last part of this, just to have a nice space added. But yeah, all I can say here is thank you all for listening. If you've liked this narration, please consider leaving a like. It will help the episode in the algorithm. And if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. I have much more of this, much more of this on the channel. If you just want to sit back and listen to the stories while you do something else with your time, be it work or even grinding at this game or other games. I know I do that too with a lot of stuff on YouTube. But anyway, thank you all for listening. I hope you have a fantastic day wherever you are. If you're still planning on pulling on Mlynar's banner, I hope you have a lot of luck. And if you've seen my pull video on that thing, oh boy, that was a thing, alright. But anyway, like I said, thank you all for listening, and I will see you in the next video. Until then, bye bye.